I don't hear me,
Tonight
right?
on the National Rundown,
Razor Blue?
the stock market experienced another major fall. House Republicans approved their budget framework,
Oh, I'm mute.
and a Gaza City strike kills at least 23 people. Stay with us.
You can never have sex without.
It's consent.
Because sex without it isn't sex.
It's rape.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
It's a short ride from your neighborhood to your naturehood. To find a neighborhood park or green space near you, visit discovertheforest.org.
Cinderella found the pet that fits her perfectly, and you can too. Share your heart, share your love. Make a shelter pet part of your world. Happily Ever After begins at theshelterpetproject.org.
It takes less than 1 minute to find out if you may have prediabetes. You can do it here. But I get it, you're busy, and busy people can't have prediabetes. I read that wrong. They can, okay? Just go to the site.
I'm Michael Batista.
And I'm Essence Holman. The United States stock market has been on a downward spiral, and that continued today despite a rally late Wednesday afternoon. The crash is a result of investors taking in President Trump's decision to suspend some tariffs while escalating a trade war with China. Hours after the stock market opened today, the White House announced that U.S. tariffs on China stand at 145%, an increase in the 125% that was reported a day earlier. The Dow Jones Industrial Average dropped 2.5%. The S&P 500 fell 3.25%, and the NASDAQ also saw a steep drop at 3.9%. Other major American companies experienced major slides too, as Nike dropped 8% and Elon Musk's Tesla fell 7%. House Republicans approved their big budget agenda, including $4.5 trillion in tax breaks and $2 trillion in spending cuts. Despite not having a single Democratic vote, the budget plan was passed, pushing towards President Trump's domestic agenda of tax cuts, mass deportations, and a smaller federal government. House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries of New York calls it a toxic scheme that proposes the largest cut to Medicaid health care programs and food assistance in the nation's history. However, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson assures that the public health care and other services that Americans rely on will be spared.
Today, President Donald Trump stated that he would reinstate the higher tariff rates announced the previous week if agreements with trading partners are not achieved during the 90-day pause initiated on April 9th. He defended the tariffs, acknowledging initial challenges, but expressing confidence in their long-term benefits. Meanwhile, the White House raised the tariffs on all Chinese exports to 125% after Beijing's latest round of retaliation. That's in addition to the 20% fentanyl-related tariffs imposed in early February, which brings the total rate for China to 145%, according to the White House. When asked about potential tariff exemptions for companies, Trump indicated there are no current considerations, but mentioned the possibility of future flexibility. Regarding reports of China reducing the number of U.S. films in its theaters, he dismissed significant concerns.
A Russian-American citizen is back on the U.S. soil tonight. Following a high-stakes prisoner swap between Washington and Moscow, Ksenia Karlina, an amateur ballerina and resident of Los Angeles, had been in prison in Russia for more than a year. She was arrested during a family visit to Yekaterinburg earlier last year. Russia's Federal Security Service accused her of raising money for a Ukrainian group that supplied weapons to the Ukrainian military. Karlina pleaded guilty last August and was sentenced to 12 years in prison. But according to Russian Human Rights, while living in the U.S., she only made a single donation, just $51 on the first day of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine back on February 22nd of 2022.
Ukrainian intelligence found 155 citizens of China fighting for Russia. Chinese nationals have been recruited through advertisements put out by the Russian government, recruiting them to fight in the war against Ukraine. Soldiers were paid $3,500 to join, according to a prisoner who was captured in the eastern part of the country. There's a speculation that the 155 soldiers are just the start of this discovery, believing there are many, many more. President Vladimir Zelensky came out saying that their intelligence agency will continue to search for these guns for hire and investigate more as to why they really did join the Russian army forces. Coming up after the break, more than 200 dead after the Dominican Republic nightclub disaster. Stay tuned.
Open up your books to page 360.
Did you just look at your phone while you was in class? You played yourself.
About inspirational quotes.
You gotta believe in yourself. Don't ever play yourself. The key is to make it, so make it.
Louise, can you give me an example of an inspirational quote?
Don't play yourself. The key is to make it.
And who said that?
I did. Now that's a major key alert.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at getschool.com.
An Israeli airstrike kills 23 after hitting a residential building in Gaza. The strike, which the Israeli government claimed was intended to eliminate a senior Hamas militant. According to medics, at least 8 of the victims were women and children. The airstrike was part of Israel's ongoing plan to take control of the city of Rafah. Many Americans are wondering what Real ID is and how to get it. Here's Mwanza with the answers.
Hello, how everybody doing today?
Hello, we're doing good.
Good, we're doing good. Yeah, how are you?
I'm all right, can't complain. You know what I'm saying?
So, Mwanza, I hear you have more for Real ID.
Yes.
What is a Real ID?
So, in all a Real ID is just basically a federally approved identification card in theory. So where Real ID comes from is the Real ID Act of 2005, enacted by the 9/11 commissions. So basically how they feel as though is that it was too easy to get a driver's license or a public ID. And so basically this is their way of cracking down so flying will be more safe.
Right, and so when will this take effect?
So Real ID takes effect on May 7th. And Real ID takes effect on May 7th, and it will affect all domestic flights and any other federal agency buildings.
Okay, so how do I get a Real ID?
So you go about getting a real ID by once your license expires, so by renewing your license, or by going to your local DMV site, well, your state's DMV site, and following the protocol. Like, for example, every state has different protocol. For example, New Jersey, you just need your basic 6 points of ID, just like you would getting your license. You can get a Real ID.
Okay, so with that information, will not having a Real ID affect my travel?
It's talked about throughout many TSA agents that TSA is planning on enforcing this in phases, and so they won't jump straight to declining your travel, but you will be undergoing more, let's just say, more TSA security scrutiny. You'll have more precautionary, more protocol to go through.
Okay, thank you so much,
No
Mwanza.
problem.
A South Carolina death row inmate fights execution by firing squad. 42-year-old Mikkel Mandy was given the death sentence almost 20 years ago after being charged with killing public safety officer James Myers. Defense claims that the death penalty should be dropped due to the previous childhood trauma and mental health issues.
Dominican Republic authorities have ended their rescue operation and turned to recovery efforts following the collapse of a nightclub roof on Tuesday, which left more than 200 people dead. The removal of bodies from the wrecked building accelerated overnight Wednesday into Thursday after Civil Protection Services removed a large chunk of debris, according to Snyder Santana, an engineer from the Dominican Republic Civil Protection Services. The death toll from the incident rose to 221 today. The president of the Democratic Republic of Congo spares the life of 3 Americans on death row. The prisoners, who were convicted of attempting a coup after an armed attack on presidential guards, have had their sentences moved to life imprisonment. This comes days before U.S. officials are scheduled to visit the country. The U.S. refused to comment on the change. And now, here's Patrick here to answer some questions.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hello.
Good, how are you?
I'm good.
I'm glad to see you here in the studio. Now, Patrick, what countries were affected by the tariffs that were put into place on what we know as Liberation Day?
So a lot of up to 60 countries got tariffed by the Trump administration, mostly throughout the European Union. Saw a lot of tariffs, a lot of talk about the EU getting these tariffs on imports, and then throughout Asia, seeing China taking the big brunt of most of these tariffs.
Right, and so why did Trump rescind these tariffs?
Trump rescinded these tariffs due to the fact that the stock market kind of just plummeted after they were put into place. So they're kind of wondering what the best course of action to do with these tariffs is, because why he's trying to implement the tariffs is because tariffs are present for other countries, for us exporting goods to them. So he wanted to kind of combat that by placing the tariffs, but since we're such a big market and control a lot of the goods and services that are out there in the world, this sort of huge tariff spike crashed a lot of the global economy for a second.
Okay, will the tariffs placed on those countries be put back into place?
Yes, after the 90-day pause, which Trump has instituted, he plans to bring back the tariffs for these countries unless they could sort of come to a resolution about their trade deal.
Okay. Why didn't he take away the tariffs on China?
China really hit back big against Trump. They placed an 84% tariff straight back towards the USA after Trump placed his tariff on China. So they're in a sort of trade war right now. He really wants to assert dominance over the Chinese market, and it's going to be really 2 global powerhouses, probably the 2 biggest markets in the world, fighting in global trade. It's going to cause a lot of discourse and a lot of problems over the next couple of years.
All right.
Well, thank you so much, Patrick.
Thank you.
The International Monetary Fund reaches a preliminary agreement with Argentina. The $20 million bailout offers a lifeline to President Javier Milei, who seeks to overturn the country's old economic order. The rescue package still requires final approval by the IMF's Executive Board. But President Milei's policy changes have cut inflation and stabilized the country's struggling economy with a free market agenda. This agreement has come at an official moment for South America's second biggest economy, as pressure has begun growing on Argentina's rapidly depleting foreign exchange reserves. If the government failed to secure this loan, fears were that the country would once again be unable to pay off its debts or imported bills. The U.S. Defense Secretary is raising eyebrows in Central America after floating the idea of American troops returning to Panama to help secure the Panama Canal. During a recent visit, Pete Hegseth suggested that, by invitation, the U.S. could revive its former military bases and naval air stations, rotating troops through the region. He also said the U.S. is seeking free passage for Navy ships through the canal, echoing President Trump's claims that American vessels have been overcharged and not treated fairly.
Federal judges in New York and Texas took legal action to block the government from moving 5 Venezuelans out of the country. The men were a part of the Tren de Aragua gang and classified as gang members. Some were being detained in a facility in Texas, while 2 more men were being held in a facility in Orange County, New York. U.S. immigration authorities have already deported more than 100 people and sent them to a prison in El Salvador without letting them challenge their removals in court. Now here's Jaden with the latest on entertainment.
The highly anticipated 7th season of the Netflix show Black Mirror was released earlier today. The season consists of 6 total episodes, 5 of which are between 40 to 80 minutes long each, and 1, a follow-up to the critically acclaimed USS Callister episode from season 4, clocking in at 90 minutes. Black Mirror is a long-running Netflix-exclusive anthology series that explores the advancement of technology and the consequences of it on society. The lineup for the Cannes Film Festival has been revealed to feature films from the acclaimed directors Wes Anderson and Ari Aster. The 2025 Cannes Festival will run from May 13th to May 25th. Anderson is set to debut his newest film, The Phoenician Scheme, a black comedy following a family business and starring high-profile actors such as Tom Hanks and Benedict Cumberbatch and Michael Cera. Pre-orders for the Nintendo Switch 2 console opened in the United Kingdom earlier today and are already sold out. The base console costs €395.99 or $443.41. Pre-orders have been delayed in the United States to give time to account for how President Trump's tariffs will affect the price of the gaming system. Nintendo has not yet announced a pre-order date despite the lowering of tariffs yesterday. Back to the desk.
Taliban enforcers have begun arresting and detaining men and their barbers for having wrong hairstyle, as well as others for missing prayers at mosque during Ramadan, just 6 months after laws regulating people's conduct came into effect. The Vice and Virtue Ministry published laws last August covering many aspects regarding everyday life in Afghanistan, including public transport, music, shaving, and celebrations. The same month, a top United Nations official warned the laws provided a distress vision for the country's future. More than 3,300 mostly male inspectors are tasked with informing people about the law and enforcing it. Coming up, shocking new Ukrainian drone footage has been released. Stay with us.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb. But if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving. The ultimate party foul.
A U.S. scholar who was jailed in Thailand on charges of insulting the country's monarchy, which is an offense punishable by up to 15 years in prison, was released on bail on Wednesday, but had his visa revoked, making people believe that he could soon be deported back to the United States at any time. The charge was related to a webinar he took part in last October. A
USA tourist is under arrest for landing on a forbidden Indian tribal island. Mikhailo Polakov stepped foot on the restricted territory banned for travel from outsiders. Indian authorities are looking for anyone who may have aided the tourist entrance to the island and have prosecuted those who were known to assist him.
And now, here's Matt with tonight's World News Minute.
A drone video appears to show Russian troops executing 4 Ukrainian PODs. The Associated Press has obtained a video from the Ukrainian drone showing soldiers with Russian uniforms killing Kiev's forces who had surrendered to them. In the second video that was recorded by the Russian drone of the same incident that sheds light on the Moscow's alternate framing of the incident, the videos tell a larger story of the 3-year-old war. In shocking news coming out of Dominican nightclub collapse, former baseball players Octavio Datel and Tony Blanco have passed away in the incident. Datel was a 51-year-old who was a native of Santo Domingo and played for 13 MLB teams over the 15 seasons, from 1999 through 2013. Datel won a World Series championship with the Cardinals in 2011. Blanco, who was a 44-year-old, was born in San Juan de la Moraga, was the first and third baseman, and he also played a little bit of the outfield. He played 8 seasons in the minors before making the MLB with the Nationals in 2005. Luka Doncic returned to Dallas last night, but this time was in a Los Angeles Lakers uniform. On February 2nd, a blockbuster trade went down that sent Dallas Mavericks franchise star to the Lakers for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a first-round pick. Luka checked into the game with 1 minute and 30 seconds into the game and a standing ovation of chants of Luka. Doncic would go on to drop 45, leading everyone in the arena wondering why the team traded him.
A 76-year-old woman was denied her seat on a plane due to her emotional support parrot. While trying to get back from her vacation to Puerto Rico, airline company Frontier would not let her on the plane. Maria Fitarago was allowed to board with her parrot at JFK Airport, but after consulting with Frontier Security, they stated that she should not have been let on the plane in the first place. When asked about this, Maria stated, "I just want to go home with my parrot." Coming up, more on... I can't read that.
So we'll be back after the break.
We'll be back after the break.
You got through it though. And now, here's Tyler with sports.
Alex Ovechkin made history in the Capitals' 4-1 loss to the Islanders on Saturday, scoring his 895th goal and breaking Wayne Gretzky's 31-year-old record to claim the throne as the NHL's all-time leading scorer. The goal came in the second period in the midst of a power play to make it a 2-1 game, sending the UBS Arena crowd and his teammates into a frenzy as he was mobbed by the rest of his team on the ice shortly after with play stopped. The Capitals have already clinched a spot in the playoffs, so we may get to see the 39-year-old veteran top off this historic season with yet another championship. An NBA champion coach is on his way out as the Denver Nuggets fired head coach Mike Malone earlier this week, along with general manager Calvin Booth. The pair of moves came as a shock to the NBA world, with the playoffs less than 2 weeks away, as the Nuggets are currently tied with the Los Angeles Clippers for the 4th seed in the West, thanks to yet another MVP caliber season from Nikola Jokic and good years from supporting players like Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon. Nuggets president Josh Kroenke spoke on the firing, saying that, quote, "There were certain trends that were worrisome to me at different points in time, but offered no further clarification on the matter." Last night, Luka Doncic made his long-awaited return to Dallas, where he spent 7 seasons before getting traded to the Lakers at the beginning of February in a move that stunned the NBA landscape. Before the Mavericks played a 2-minute-long tribute video for the former number 3 overall pick, who took the Mavs to the NBA Finals just a year prior. Doncic tallied 45 points on 16 of 28 shooting, along with 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 steals in the Lakers' 112-97 win.
Now let's go to our weather.
I'm Daniel Terfe, and this is your weather update. Tonight in Glassboro, it's going to be a high of 54 and a low of 38. It's going to be a little cloudy and maybe a little chillier for you tonight. On Friday, for your 5-day forecast, it's going to be a high of 49 and a low of 42. It's going to be a little rainy and cloudy these next couple days, continuing with Saturday. It's going to be a high of 46 and a low of 39, still continuing with that trend. And on Sunday, it's going to be a high of 58 and a low of 40, but it's going to be a little cloudier. We're starting to get a little better. And on Monday, it's going to be a high of 66 and a low of 41, the best day of the week. Make sure you guys get outside for that one. And on Tuesday, it's going to be a high of 61 and a low of 45. Again, we get back to that raininess and cloudiness. And now for your weather window. Really cloudy out there, guys.
Oh yeah, I thought it was gonna rain today. I thought I would need a rain jacket.
Yeah, it was supposed to rain, and it's mainly just staying cloudy. It's just a little chilly. I'm still waiting for spring to come around.
Right. So what are we looking at here?
So as you can see here, just really cloudy, to be honest. There's a lot of wind going on, surprisingly. As you can see, just a lot of cloudy skies. Before, when I went outside, the trees were really blowing. So yeah, that's pretty much all that we got here. Moving over, students are bundled up, and you got to make sure that you have your jackets out today. And just more gray clouds. It's going to be like that for most of the week, and it's going to be nice on. It's going to be nice. It's going to be 66 this week, but as you can see, more around Bozorth Hall here. Just a lot more gray skies, and hopefully it needs to turn around. It needs to start acting like spring.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, the weather's warming up, so that's better than you know what we had earlier this week and all that crazy wind.
Of course. Yeah. Can't ever fall for that New Jersey fake spring.
All right. Well then, and that wraps up tonight's newscast.
Thanks for watching and have a good weekend.